All right, the Colorado Avalanche have their first back-to-back of the season, and they take both games, one against the Minnesota Wild, the other against the Calgary Flames. That's on the ice. Things are looking pretty good. Off the ice, Sammy Girard has entered the assistance program. Very serious. So we will also discuss that. Brand new episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. And make sure to check us out on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on X, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And follow us over on YouTube. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live, and absolutely subscribe to our subtext. Link to that is in the show notes below. And when you do, you sign up, become a very special insider for Kyle and I, where you chat with us one-on-one, give us your thoughts on everything going on with the Avalanche, game predictions after games are over, how you thought it went. We read it all on the air. All right, we have a rematch that we have to get to, a Stanley Cup rematch that we have to get to, which is happening on Monday night against the Tampa Bay Lightning. We'll get to that a little bit later. We also will get to those two games that the Avalanche took over the weekend. Things are looking pretty good, but we're going to take a serious tone here to start off the program and start off the week. And we knew that Sam Girard, early on, we knew that we got the personal reasons why he missed a couple games, and you go anywhere you want with that. But then it did come out, I think it was Friday, right? I think it was Friday, Black Friday, I think it came out, that he entered the Players Assistance Program, and he came out with a statement. And you could, by now, I'm sure you've read it. If you haven't, it's very easy to find. Basically just admitting, like, I need to take a step back and focus on me right now and my mental health. Suffers from severe anxiety and depression, which led to excessive drinking. So he's tackling all that stuff right now and will be out for who knows how long. And honestly, it doesn't matter how long, because that's when life gets in the way and is so much more serious than playing a game, right? Yeah. So I give him a ton of credit for stepping up and doing this and acknowledging it. And, taking that step of, I'm going to do something about it. So it's not an easy thing to do, especially when you're, in the limelight, when you're an athlete, when you're, a professional in a sport, or just when you're, a movie star or anything like that. It's very difficult to do. So to, come to the point where he was like, I need to put hockey second and maybe even third or fourth, and put myself first is huge. It's huge.
Yeah, I absolutely respect, support, and I'm cheering for Sam Girard through this whole process. It's one of those, honestly, on two fronts. Like, Sam Girard, proud of you. This is a big move, and I'm proud of you for taking this move now, and before it becomes something down the road. Like, you know that something needs to be fixed, and you're getting it fixed. You're taking a pause on everything. On the flip, it brings the human side to the game of hockey that we often forget about. He was the scapegoat. Everybody loved to dirt on Sam Girard. And guess what? Just imagine you're listening to the show right now. You're heading to work. Imagine getting on Twitter and everybody's ragging on you. Like, it's one of those things you just keep thinking, keeps things in perspective. Like, there is a human side to the game of hockey that I think we forget about a lot, even though the money's thrown around and this is what they do. Imagine having a job that you love and people are still ragging on you if you're not living up to their expectations. It'll weigh on you.
Oh, there's a human side to sports.
Yeah.
That we forget about.
Yep.
We throw around the word hate way too freely when it comes
Yep.
to sports and athletes we don't like. And, it's almost like that they're just made of steel and it just like it doesn't affect them. And and some maybe it doesn't. Some maybe they don't go on social media and read those comments and it can bounce off them and they don't care because they don't know you. But everybody's not built the same.
Yeah.
And for and I don't know. I don't know to what degree and what percentage why Sam Girard went into the assistance program, uh, that the comments made about him and on social media had an effect. I don't know, but I will say it's got to have something,
Yeah.
something. Even if it's not the majority of the reason why he needed to do this, you can't tell me like that it didn't elevate those anxiety levels of his and those depression levels of his and leading to the drink. You can't tell me it didn't have at least something to do with it because the stuff that I read that's on our boards and our comment sections just on our page are pretty despicable
Yeah.
when it comes to him. And people just kind of forget like, oh, he's not going to have emotion or he's not going to read this. You don't know that.
Yeah.
You don't know that. And again, to what degree it has an effect on why he went into it. I can't say like a percentage, but do I feel, and this is me just spouting off here, like, do I feel that it has some bearing on it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you don't think that, then you're not paying attention to what's being said online about him because it's horrible. Some of the things that is being said whenever he just makes a mistake in a game. And you know who you are. And I'm not blaming you specifically, you people, because there's a lot of you people out there that are doing this. So it's not one person, but if you've said something negative about him and you probably don't feel that good about it right now, and you shouldn't.
Yeah. And honestly, like just being real, like as somebody who also struggles with like depression and anxiety is like if you get those kind of comments, like if you try to escape Twitter or X, if you try to escape those and then you go to the arena to do your job and there are trade Girard signs, your
Come on.
brain's just constantly going. And
Right.
then when the team is not having success and things are going wrong and you're the first person you blame, guess what? It starts sinking into your mind.
Yeah.
And then you try your best to escape it because guess what? It's a hockey game. Games are supposed to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
They're supposed to be a source of enjoyment, and it's an incredible honor and a privilege and a blessing to be on the NHL level. And for you to make it all the way there and be hounded, like I can understand Sam Girard having to struggle with it. And I'm proud of him for finding ways to deal with this
Yeah.
because it's just unfair. And honestly, for all of us as fans, we need to take a step back and just be a little bit more human to not just the
Yeah.
players, but to each other and other fans.
Yeah, and as far as like players go, like you can be critical of players. I'm not saying
Yeah.
you can't be critical of players. It's how you come across in doing that. You know what I mean? Like I saw one person say that we're talking about what we are and how if this had an impact on him. And Sam Girard he's one of those guys that him and his I think it's his fiance. I don't know if they I think they did get married in the off season. So I think it's his
Possibly.
wife.
Yeah.
They have an Instagram page for their dog.
Yeah.
They love their dog, and it's gone as far as people threatening his dog.
Yeah.
Like, come on now. Like you can talk about his play and you can be subjective on his play, and if you just come across if you want to break down a play that he did poorly and say like this was a poor play and he didn't do this, this, and this, then fine. When you start getting into the mudslinging and name calling and stuff like that, I kind of tune you out.
Yeah.
I just tune you out.
When every goal against is it contribute, you find a way to draw the lines where Sam Girard is responsible for every goal against the Colorado Avalanche. Like that has to be a little bit ridiculous. Like it's a team effort. There's a
Right.
goalie involved. Everything is not Sam Girard's fault. And for that to be your identity online and on socials on this is Girard's problem. I can't believe this. Can we trade him already? Like I watch the timelines. I'm with you guys talking in the timelines. I see this all the time. Like it gets a lot. So I'm
Yeah.
kudos for Girard handling it this
Huge.
way and professionally. And guess what? And possibly inspiring others in his same that he calls peers and brothers and friends to
Oh, yeah.
possibly do the same if they're struggling behind the scenes.
Absolutely. And to what you said to a broader level, um, how we just talk to each other
Yeah.
on a sports level, like with other fan bases and stuff like that. There's always fans that infiltrate the other team's message boards. They do it on ours, right? And I agree with you. Like it's just gotten to a point, and social media is a big part of it, where we just sit behind our keyboards or our smartphones and throw around stuff we normally would not say in the presence of that person because we're protected by a screen.
Yep.
And it's like, nah, I don't really operate that way. I'm not going to say something like I have fun with it. Like you guys have seen like some of the AI stuff that we've been putting up for game days,
Yeah.
the one we did with the Minnesota Wild. And Seth commented from Locked On Wild. He commented like he was laughing about it. And we have a great relationship with Seth.
Yep.
It's just because he hosts the Wild that like doesn't mean that we are enemies or anything like that. The way that we do it, I feel like we do a pretty good job of it. It's in good fun and you can see the humor in it. But some people don't take it that way. Some people, will make comments and then that's just on our level. Think about it if it's on a professional sport player's level.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said in the beginning, sometimes they're not made of steel. Sometimes they do read this stuff and it affects them. So 100% agree with what you're saying as far as how with regards to Sammy G, whatever it was, whether, to what percentage it was this stuff that we are talking about, there's probably more involved. There usually is more involved when it comes to stuff like this. Whatever it is to a collective for him, he made that huge, bold move to step back because 20 years ago, the comments would have continued and they would have gotten worse
Yep.
for him taking this step. Now it's much more acceptable, and thank God for that. And whenever he can come back, if he wants to, we just hope that he's all the more better person. I don't care if he's a better hockey player. I just want to be a better person, and he's got the right team, the right teammates that are standing for behind him in all of this.
And for everything the league gets wrong, at least they have this resource for players to utilize.
They do, and I'm pretty sure he can't come back until they say he's ready. So it's not just like, oh, you just wait. It's not like a predetermined like it's like a 28-day program and then he can come back. If they feel like no, he's not ready yet, he can't come back. So that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. So you don't just wait it out and say like, well, you don't get like cold feet after like you enter the program and then say like, maybe I shouldn't have done this. I'm gonna leave it. Can't do that. So you're in there. They treat you. They take care of you. And whenever they feel like he's ready is when he can come back. When that is, no idea. Doesn't matter.
Nope.
Doesn't matter. All right. Let's get to those two games that the Avalanche. So on the ice, things are looking pretty good for the Colorado Avalanche. So we will get to those coming up next. Right now, we're going to hear from one of our new sponsors, and that's Collective. If you're running a business of one, you're wearing many hats in your day-to-day. And with Collective, bookkeeping and accounting don't need to be one of them. You can start saving thousands of dollars and hours of your time by letting Collective handle your business's paperwork. Collective is the #1 financial solution for freelancers, contractors, and self-employed entrepreneurs that lets you focus on your passion, not your paperwork. Let Collective handle all the paperwork you dread, like corporate formation and compliance, taxes, bookkeeping, accounting, and even payroll. And the best part, it's a fraction of the cost of a CPA. And Collective knows that if your business of one makes over $80,000 a year, you will find the most value from their services. Join the thousands of solo entrepreneurs who have saved an average of $10,000 per year on taxes with their structure. So right now, Collective is offering a 1-month free trial and no onboarding fees when you go to collective.com/lockedonnhl and you tell them that Locked On NHL sent you. That's a $550 value, Kyle. Good Lord, for free when you go to collective.com/lockedonnhl. That's collective.com/lockedonnhl, and make sure you tell them that the Locked On NHL Network sent you. All right, 2 games right after Thanksgiving. Avs are playing a lot. You got the game, you had Thanksgiving Eve. Everybody had Thanksgiving off. back-to-back games on Black Friday and then Saturday, off on Sunday, game on Monday against Tampa Bay. So we talked about this, did we not? Where if you just start playing more games and get into the flow of game day off, things start to even themselves out. Who knows where we're at right now? But recently, things are pretty good for the Avalanche. You're starting to see everybody contribute in some capacity, even to the point of Curtis McDermott getting you a sweet as silk goal for the game winner against Minnesota. It's just overall, you got to be happy with how things are looking right now for the Avs.
The Avalanche absolutely have found their groove, and this comes from the back-to-back. And honestly, this is going to be a good test. We'll talk about that in the last segment. Like, we're going to be facing it's a cup rematch, a really good goalie. So we have a lot of those tent pole games. Vegas, Vancouver. This Lightning game upcoming is going to be a test of everything they put together. That Calgary game, not a goal was scored in that third period. Guess what? The Avalanche know how to hold on to a lead.
Yeah,
that
man.
was a big one for me. I think
Well,
out
not
of
only that,
the back-to-back is holding on in that third period and not letting things, not getting too relaxed, not playing like 110 miles an hour, dictating the game all the way through.
Right.
That was a big one for me.
And I even think just the defense over the last two games has just looked good.
Yeah.
It's not like perfect, but it's just looked a lot better. Guys aren't losing guys. I just feel like the defensive play has been so much better. And both goalies in both those games, Georgiev against the Wild, Prosvetov against the Flames, specifically Prosvetov against the Flames, just again gave them there was not a ton of high danger chances for the opponent. And I say that while Prosvetov had to make some like really good saves in that game. I think for both of these games, the goalies really stepped up, because these things could have got out of hand if they're not making basic saves, which has been a little bit of a problem for someone like Georgiev recently. So I thought from the goal perspective, things were good. Defensively, things are good. You're finding your offensive touch. Just the passing just seems to be there now. Like you're when you're doing zone exits and you're just making those like tape to tape passes, those are happening now. And I just feel like you're at that point in the season where that stuff should start clicking. So if we're there, I think for the remainder, you're still going to have duds every once in a while. It's a long season, of course, but you have to feel pretty good that the Avalanche have kind of figured it out, because, like I said, you have Curtis McDermott doing what he did in 3 minutes of ice time. And I think we're maybe getting a little bit over dramatic for that, but it's still kind of fun to talk about it. Okay, then ignore that. How about Jonathan Drouin? He's coming around a little bit.
Yeah.
He's putting pucks in the back of the net and he's on the number one power play now. Like it's you just have a good vibe right now of where the Avs are going.
Top to bottom, offense, defense, goalie. You could feel a team confidence, and they're finding their identity. And it was just a couple weeks ago, we were all really sad, kicking cans around because Vegas absolutely embarrassed us. Hey, let's go look at Vegas right now. That team that looked unbeatable, that it's falling apart. And then you see teams like the Minnesota Wild that you just beat on Black Friday. They're really struggling.
Even Vancouver's struggling right now.
Vancouver, a team that really we hyped up a lot. They're having problems with their identity. This team, top to bottom, Cale Makar's the best defenseman in the world right now.
Yeah.
Georgiev, most wins in the league right now as a goalie. Like it's not, and Drouin looks good, like really, really good. And I want to see him string this together. Like, I'm really loving his play.
Mm-hmm.
And now Avalanche fans, you're splitting houses on who's your favorite Avalanche player. It's Miles Wood or Ross Colton, and why. They're like it's Team Colton, Team Wood,
No wrong
and
answer there, by the way.
it's a fun thing to do. And Nathan McKinnon is still contributing in his own way, even if it's not scoring a goal every night. Because guess what? He doesn't have to.
Well,
So
you know why? Because Valenchuskin is.
yes,
That dude is maybe on a heater right now. That's unmatched in the league. He's definitely he's playing as one of the best right now. Right now, I'm
hmm
not going overboard and saying like, oh, he's a superstar and all-star, but for the past like couple weeks, he's been one of the best players in the league.
and the league takes notice, and they are starting to talk about how hot Val Nichushkin is. And guess what? If you're rolling into Ball Arena or the Avalanche are coming, who do you plan on matching up for? What do you do against this
Mm.
team right now? Because everybody's getting hot at the same time. Even if you come at them with your best performance, the goalies and the defense are looking great. So it's really taking a lot of the fire out of whoever's playing the Colorado Avalanche.
It's funny you say that when they played the Flames.
Ooh,
I against the Flames, that second game is always tough, right? The back-to-backs are not easy. So the game was never in hand as far as the score, but it was in hand as you're watching this game play out on the ice, which is never a guarantee in the sport of hockey. And we said it before. It's like, yeah, you're up 3-1 in this game. All it takes is a mistake somewhere
yep.
for the Flames to cut this thing to 1, and then you pull the goalie, and who knows what happens. That's why I love this sport, because you don't like even watching that game. I kind of felt like the Avs were they knew that they were the better team,
hmm
and they were not pinning the Ferrari in the red because they were on a back-to-back. And if they had done that, the third period would have been they would have been dogging it in the third. So I was kind of looking at that third period, and yeah, Flames made a little bit of a push there. Prosvetov with some really nice saves, but it seemed to me like the Avs were like, okay, we have this like lead right now, and we'll put just enough pressure on where we're still in control of the game, but we don't want to just go overboard because it's a back-to-back. And, like I said, maybe a little bit of fatigue might catch up to them. And if we need to, we got a little bit of gas in the tank to up it a little bit more if we need to. I just, and you saw some comments from Jared Bednar afterwards, and he kind of said something like that. And I was watching it, and I'm like, they're in control, but they're not playing their speed demon game right now. They're playing fast, but not as fast as they could. And I just kind of felt like that's probably calculated.
Yeah, it's what it is the Colorado Avalanche are figuring out how to win games by playing chess while other teams have to play checkers to get going.
Mm,
And like the Avalanche, the way they're rotating their lines right now, if you look at like the minute distribution, like line
yeah.
1 knows what to do to establish themselves. Line 2 capitalizes on line 1. Line 3 capitalizes on line 2. And line 4 goes out there and cleans it up and sets the stage for line 1 to come back out there.
Mm-hmm.
They are where other teams have to really hope their top line could get them something, or maybe line 3 will surprise them. The Avalanche just keep on rolling, and they're not worried. They're going out there and they're doing, what line 1's going to give you. You keep rotating that out, and you're going to find success. They don't have to play at a million miles an hour and in desperation mode. They could play the full 60 minutes and slow it down just a little bit because they know everything is working, and they have the fifth best penalty kill in the league right now.
Oh, that's great.
And it's that cerebral game the Avalanche are starting to play, and I think that's going to really help when it comes to the injuries. And we could see it be tested tonight against the Lightning on who could be the more cerebral, because
Yeah.
don't look now, but the Lightning aren't that bad.
No, they're not. They're not. We'll talk about them in a second. But you look at this, like, the first line's your first line, and then your third line
Mm,
continues to play incredible. And you just saw the difference when Logan O'Connor, who was out, came back,
yep.
and they just picked right back up. Like, that third line is you're always excited to watch the first line whenever they hit the ice. The same goes for that third line. They just take control, and that is really, really fun to watch. So where do we go from here? There's a couple people on subtext who wanted to talk about this weekend of games, and then we'll touch on the Avs and Tampa Bay Lightning. We'll do that next. But right now we are going to talk about Sleeper and the Sleeper app. Kyle, is there a better app out there for daily fantasy sports?
No, there is
Absolutely. There is not. And we are pretty confident in saying that. And you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports and especially daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. And this is where I like to ask you, Kyle, who do you like for this game for your daily fantasy player against Tampa Bay?
We're going, your best daily fantasy player would be Cale Makar.
I mean, you could do that one every day.
You're
really
getting against Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
You're going to want to go Cale Makar because I feel like he's going to have himself a game.
I always like doing the players who revisit their old teams. This could be a Ross Colton game right here. Yeah, could be. So you can use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL. You get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That code is LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper terms of use for details and locational availability. All right, over on Subtext, a couple of people had some comments about the weekend, and this is Madam Battleaxe. She had a whole bunch to say. Well, she predicts, as for I'll jump ahead a little bit, 5-3 for Avs and Bolts. Going back to the game, she said, I know I'm going to rattle some feathers here, but did anyone see the post-game locker room interview with Nathan MacKinnon? Is it me, or does he seem like he's not happy? And it's really rubbing me the wrong way. He does come out for the stars of the game, and then he has less than happy post-game interview. What are your thoughts? Am I looking at this wrong? I don't know if you watched that, but I did. And the comment he made was basically like, I don't think anybody played well. This was after the Flames game. He goes, I don't think either team played very well. And I get, he's built that way. He's kind of built where he's like, he's never really going to be happy with himself and how he plays. He always feels like there's something more to give. But you got to start thinking if this scoring or goal scoring drought was getting to him, although he got one in the Flames game, which was not the typical Nathan MacKinnon just ripping it from the left-hand side.
That was Nichushkin's goal. Let's be real here.
Well, it was tipped by a Flame. The whoever's defending him, he was right in front of him, and it just he didn't get a lot of it, so it didn't really deflect it so far away. But I think Nichushkin was going for the tip, and I don't think he actually got it. But Nichushkin's been taking a lot of MacKinnon goals recently, which I don't think MacKinnon really cares about in the long run. But she's right. Like, he did have a little bit of a different attitude in that post-game press conference.
Well, I'll Madam Battleaxe, I'll just go ahead and ruin it for you right here. Nathan MacKinnon has never had a good attitude.
No,
he's never been your sunshiny Cale Makar guy.
He's never had a good attitude when it comes to like that. When it comes to like talking to the press or stuff, like with his teammates, he's a great teammate. He's a leader, you know what I mean? But he's demanding.
Yeah.
And he's built that way. And that's fine. That is completely fine. But you're not going to get like this kumbaya guy on a like Darcy Kemper was.
Yeah, he's a hockey robot.
Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, she says 5-3 for the Bolts. Goals, Nichushkin, Wood. She says Jones is going to get one. Okay.
Ooh.
Cogliano, and of course Colton. So 5 different players are scoring goals for
Let's
the
go.
According to her. This is from Kyle. He says, can't complain about 4 points in 24 hours. I love seeing Drouin starting to find his game and Rijo continuing to heat up. That was a beautiful behind the net wraparound by him, by the way. Cap that with MacKinnon snapping his goal streak as the cherry on top. And the team has a great back-to-back. Tatar has also stood out, but not for the right reasons. Feeling that the boys will build on momentum and close it out. He also says 5-3. Yeah, Tatar's is like, he's does have to get going a little bit better in terms of the scoring department. I can't fault you there for that one.
Yeah, and love the name. wise people named Kyle. But no, Tatar has been noticeably absent, but you might get him a little bit later on down the line. He's also somebody who needs to find confidence. Maybe you find it in this game.
You might. I mean, he's a veteran, so it's like he's just got to find that little bit of confidence, and away he goes. But
Do we need him right now? Like, do we need him to win the game? Like, let him slowly get his confidence back.
right.
Games are not won and lost on the back of Tomas Tatar.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Like, so just let him go through the lumps,
Yeah.
and yeah,
I,
everything's
I'm just glad he's in the lineup, for goodness
yeah,
sake.
yeah.
He's not injured.
What's that?
I said he's not
He's
injured,
not
so
injured.
he's
That
fine
helps.
with me.
That helps. And then finally from Tanya, I think I finally understand what it's like to be a Leafs fan. I'm hopeful that moving forward things will be getting back to normal. But so far this season, every loss, with the exception of the at-home Seattle game, every loss has been ridiculous. Yeah. Between shutouts, blowouts, and I'm still not talking about the last 40 seconds of the Nashville game. I think I'm starting to find a heal from the shutouts, and I'm optimistic going up against both Tampa and Arizona next week. I think some people are feeling that way. Some feel like, yeah, it's been an up and down season, and the way that they've played, do people want to throw all the eggs in the basket right now, or are they still like, do it for another week? Do it for another week, another 2 weeks, and then when I feel confident that you're more consistent, then I'll get excited about it. I mean, I've always been confident that this team will turn it around. So, but I can understand a lot of people feeling the way that she might.
And I'm glad Tanya mentioned both Tampa as a test and Arizona as a test, because
Arizona's good.
They are just a mystery on how they are so good, but they're good. And that's also going to be a fantastic test for this Avalanche squad.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one later. But for this one, Tampa, you said it, man. Like, I think people once it was said like Vasilevsky is going to be out for a while. People were like, "That's it," because especially Avalanche fans might have been saying that, knowing who their backup was, right? And Jonas Johansson, but they've stayed afloat. They have stayed afloat, and they are in the thick of it. They just what was that Carolina game? They just dismantled Carolina 8-2 in Carolina. And that was Vasilevsky's first game back. So he is back.
Yeah.
So you will be going up against him. I don't think the Avalanche are afraid of that whatsoever, because they obviously beat him in the Cup final. I know that was a little while ago, but still, couple that with how the Avs have been getting their scoring touch back. And while that's a nice win for Tampa, Vasilevsky he's got to go through what everybody else has already gone through in the first 2 months of the season. He's got to get his legs back, and maybe, the Avalanche getting him in the first game, he's ready to go, so maybe now in the second game, 2 road games, 2 tough teams, maybe the Avalanche hang a few on him for this one. We'll see. Remains to be seen.
I was hoping this game would be an ESPN broadcast, because I just want to hear.
Is it or no?
No, it's not. I believe it's an altitude broadcast, but I just want to hear when the 5-3 score becomes true, that Vasilevsky just can't get his legs with the altitude at Ball Arena.
Oh God.
Oh, it's my
So
favorite.
the excuse birds are going to come out for if the Avs just kind of hang a few on him.
It's my favorite thing to hear. But no, this would be perfect, because if the Avalanche can't topple the Lightning are going to become a problem, because Vasilevsky is going to get confidence in this win. So the Avalanche need to do the league a favor and win this game.
Yeah, it's Tampa Bay. You can never take them lightly. And that just goes to show, like, they're very well coached. They have veterans on that team. They have young guys on that team. Yeah, they a lot of people were just thinking they did a disastrous job with their salary cap. And they had to let go of some guys. They could not re-sign some guys. Ross Colton's one of them. And I think a lot of people were thinking like this maybe is the beginning of the end. They still have enough on there to be competitive. But right now, I mean, they're 10. what are they? 10, 6, and 5. Yeah, so they got 25 points on the season right now. So they're right up there with where the Avalanche are in terms of points.
In the East.
So in the East, you're right, which is much more difficult than the West. So you can never count Tampa Bay out until they're officially out of it. So I think it's going to be a good game. Obviously, you know, when these two teams play each other, just because of the most recent history, they're going to get up for one another. So what are you thinking for this thing? What's your score prediction here?
I wish I could say 5-3, but it's funny. Madden Battle Axe doesn't mention overtime game. This is going to overtime.
You think so?
Oh yeah.
I mean, the Avs haven't had one in a while, so possibly. But you got to feel good about them coming out with a victory. They're at home. Things have been rolling. So
usually when everything goes right is when things go wrong.
Exactly.
So overtime. Here we go.
Exactly. All right. That's going to wrap it up for today. We will be back tomorrow to discuss this game and anything else that's going on in Avalanche land. Until then, thank you for tuning in and making Locked On Avalanche your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. For Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan, I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. Enjoy the game, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.